Listen.
The big question is, and this is another question for the chat as well, so definitely start sounding off your answers in the chat. And for you guys as well, what are some of the games that we want Nintendo to include on this N64 Classic if it does come to be?
The N64 is a tricky one because there isn't a ton of third-party support on that system in the same way there is the NES and the SNES. There is a lot. There's a lot of good stuff there. But some of the best ones that we really enjoy, like if you actually start thinking about it, the stuff that's effectively first party, or at least that's what we associated, right? Licensed stuff. You look at Perfect Dark, you look at GoldenEye.
Oh, yeah.
You look at Banjo-Kazooie and Diddy Kong Racing, which we saw re-released on the 3DS a couple years ago.
All stuck in licensing.
All stuck in licensing.
Keep going.
And so that gets very difficult. So then you look at the first party stuff, you have Mario 64, you have Wave Race, you have Smash Brothers, F-Zero,
Pilot Wings, Mario Kart, Zelda,
Donkey Kong 64, which
not allowed on the system.
Not
we
allowed
talked about this
because that's a rare game, right?
No.
Because
they could put it on
it's
there.
bad.
No, it's bad, right?
Yeah, good. Got it. At least we agree on that.
I don't know. Is Andres still in the production room there?
Yeah, Andres is back there. I know Barrett's back there too, so he might have
back there.
That's
something
okay.
to say.
Well, that raises the question. Donkey Kong 64 raises the question of, is the N64 Classic going to have an N64 Classic expansion pack, right?
When obviously Perfect Dark multiplayer didn't run without the extra RAM, right?
Yeah.
If you guys remember that single player.
Yes.
Multiplayer.
That'd be funny if they included Perfect Dark on there, but then sold an expansion pack
Like a
separately.
tiny
that
little
wired
one.
that.
No.
I think it effectively ran like a very rudimentary version where you could only fight like up to 4 bots or something simple like that.
Yeah, that's the version I played
RAM
for a
is so
while.
cheap, so that wouldn't be an issue. Like they would just build it in.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger issue is that Perfect Dark is a Microsoft property.
Yep.
And
Then
like unlikely to come across it.
What about Star Wars? Do you like Star Wars? I do. Do you want to play Star Wars games on the N64?
Rogue Squadron is
I'd
also
love
not
to.
going to happen.
Who owns that?
That would be over in the Disney camp.
Yeah.
What about
So-
like Shadows of the Empire? Would we see something like that show up?
No.
No.
That's
just because
all,
it's all Star Wars?
That's all over in the Disney camp. Yeah, it could happen,
man.
right?
Yeah.
Like anyone, like if Spider-Man can appear in the Avengers, anything could happen. Or, think of Roger Rabbit and the crossover job there. But they definitely, I think, Perfect Dark, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie are difficult. Diddy Kong Racing is 2.
Conquer as well.
Conquer is 2, so they're a bunch, but there are a bunch of third-party games that would be interesting and are not locked in. Like think of no, actually, it's also difficult. Like think of Beetle Adventure Racing from EA. There was the Need for Speed guys.
Yes.
Did an awesome racing game on the N64, and it features Beetles. That means you have to renew the license with VW for that cost, right?
Yes.
And so there are a lot of third-party games and a lot of second-party games that I think would be difficult to come over.
Yeah. That said, I think there's a strong enough library of first-party games, and if you look at the classic NES, it had 30 games, correct? And then the classic Super NES had how many?
25?
25?
Yeah.
So statistically, they can just keep knocking numbers off until you get to the N64 and launch one with like 15 or 20.
It'd be awesome if it had 64 games.
Well,
That's the dream.
Too much storage. No, I think
that's
they'll
a
go
lot.
12. I think they'll go a really low number compared to the others.
Well, you can start with Mario 64 and Pilot Wings, the launch
sure.
games for the console, super easily.
They have to be on there.
Mario Kart, obviously,
Always.
Kirby, Yoshi,
Smash Brothers has
Smash
to be.
Brothers for sure,
Ocarina.
Majora's Mask.
Majora's Mask.
Do you think
Wave
both?
Race.
I think they would
And
pick one.
that's not hating on Majora's Mask. It seems like if they're only keeping it to 12 games, doing both.
I feel like if you launched an N64 Mini without Majora's Mask, people would be furious.
They'd have to have both.
Really?
You'd have to have both.
I feel like that's too much already because, like, what are you going to do with 1080 snowboarding? Or, Excitebike 64 they'll skip for sure, but like it's a really
They
good
didn't
game.
skip
but
Ice
like,
Climbers.
Think of Tetrisphere or some of those games.
What about Paper Mario 64?
That's a
Paper Mario is a really good one too. Yeah,
for sure.
I had a couple, and Dr. Mario 64 was really good too. So there are a lot of first-party games, but I had a couple of wild cards, and I know you have a bunch of wild cards.
I have a
but
lot of wild cards.
My top pick that I want to see return is Ogre Battle.
Yeah.
Ogre Battle 64,
Ooh, yeah.
Person of Lordly Caliber, one of the awesomest real-time / turn-based strategy games, like units actually move in real time. And then Battle Tanks was such a great multiplayer game from 3DO. That company is of course gone. I don't even know where the license sits. But from first party, my dream pick would be Animal Crossing. Dobutsu no Mori Plus is what it was called. It came out only in Japan before, and it would be awesome if they translated that one. It was loaded with NES games. It had a lot of the features that we saw in later games. That was a really good Animal Crossing game.